Welcome back, guys. Today I want to talk about the level 2 on the studio gear setup, going to the cheat sheets that I recommend. I put the download link below, and if you want to download that and follow along, or you can just watch on the screen. I'm going to be talking about number 2. So this is a little bit longer than the first one, and I'll try to make it quick. Let's start out with the platform. So first of all, real quick, this is for somebody that wants to have a little bit more professional recordings, that wants to do something a little bit better than just from their phone. I highly recommend starting at this level and not starting at level 1, but that depends, of course, on your budget. So let's jump into it. A platform. I highly recommend getting a laptop. I don't care if it's Mac or PC, get a laptop. And the reason why is because you want to have the flexibility of working mobily. You want to be on a train. You want to be working from a coffee house. I love to do that. I like playing poker and going to poker tournaments. And if I get knocked out early, I love to be able to work and just bring my laptop with me. So you can't really do that with a desktop unless you want to lug around a big desktop with a monitor. If you're building a big studio, sure, get a desktop. They're a lot more powerful. You get a lot more money for bang for the buck, and they're more modular. You can change out and upgrade equipment. I get that. But this class is more for people who are looking to do things quick and fast and turn things around, and they want to be able to use a platform they already have in their house. And that's why I would recommend a laptop. Okay, if you don't have a laptop, that's fine, but that's, again, my recommendation. Make sure it's got plenty of storage. Storage, hard drive space is so cheap now. There's no excuse for it. Also, that means have a backup. Have a backup computer, hard drive connected into your computer. Every time you log onto your computer when you're at home, you connect that backup in and you back up your computer. You will thank me. I would almost say do not even bother recording and doing any producing until you have a backup set up. There's a lot of sites and resources online for how to do that, okay? If you're a Mac user, you can use a Time Machine interface. It's so stinking easy, and it's saved my butt so many times. Make sure that you have plenty of RAM, at least 8 gigabytes. I would recommend 16 if you can afford that. RAM is really easy to buy. That's instant memory. If you go to crucial.com right here, you can buy that very cheaply, and they can even run a quick program on your computer and decide what you have and what type of RAM you need. If you get a hard drive that's not an SSD, it's not solid state drive, make sure that the RPMs of the hard drive are at least 7,200 RPM, okay? And the connections, they need to be able to power USB 3.0 if it's a PC, or Thunderbolt and 3.0 USB if it's a Mac. Okay, let's move on. The digital audio workstation I would recommend is Ableton Live. I love this program. Now, the reason why is in this diagram here, you can see that there's a view called the session view, and you can actually record little clips and play them in the order and sequence you like. And you end up running into a lot of happy accidents that way. And it's a brilliant program. I love Ableton Live. It's got a lot of stuff in it. I don't recommend the whole suite. I have the whole suite, but I don't recommend it. I don't use it very often at all. Just the standard edition, which is, I think it's about $359 it starts at. They're at Ableton Live 9 right now, but that's about to go to 10. And you can get some deals on that because it's the holiday season. Anyway, moving on. By the way, if you don't like Ableton Live, I'm not saying you have to have that. Logic is a great program. I'm not a crazy fan of Pro Tools, even though that's still the industry standard. But there's also Reaper, there's Sonar, there's Fruity Loops, there's Studio. There's a bunch of DAWs now, and there's a lot of great ones. So find the one you love. I'm going to be teaching a lot in Ableton Live. So if you haven't bought one yet and you're going to buy one, that's the one I would go with. And I can explain more why. Just send me a note. Audio interface. You need to have an external audio interface. And the reason why, well, there's a lot of reasons why, but you need a good one. Okay. Now here is a great one. I recommend this is made by Focusrite. They are a monster in the audio world. This is the Scarlett 2i4. It's a 2 input, so you can record 2 at a time. But for what we're going to do, most of the stuff we're going to record doesn't need more than that many inputs. That means you can have a vocal and a guitar recording at the same time. Most of the time, we're never even going to utilize that. We're going to just use one input at a time. I know I do. I rarely ever use 2 inputs at a time. I used to try to record drums and have 8 to 10 inputs at a time. Not anymore, and I'll explain why. All right, moving on. Oh, one more thing. If you buy an audio interface, make sure you get something that's great audio to digital conversion. So the A to D conversion, you're going to hear that a lot, is what transfers the audio information into digital information. Now, every company has their own way of doing that, and that can even make your sound better or worse or equal. You want your sound to be great. And I love Apogee and I love Universal Audio and Focusrite. This interface is great for the buck. For this 200 price range, that's a fantastic interface. I'm not a big fan of M Audio. There's some good stuff in there, but M Audio sells a lot of them in Behringer and things like that. There's a little cheaper, but anyway, do your research on that. Room acoustics. If you don't have room acoustics in your room, you're missing out. This is one of the easiest things to do. I put this off forever, and I finally dropped the money on doing this, and I'm so glad I did. And I thought I was going to spend a lot of time tacking up and putting things in really smart configuration. You can, and I have done that at my other house. I have that, and it looks a lot nicer than it does behind me right now. But honestly, it doesn't matter. Just slap some acoustic treatment up, and you'll deal with 90% of the reflection in your room. You can kill so much reflection in your room that's going to affect your mixes. It's going to affect your recordings, your producing. Don't overthink it. Throw it up, tack it up. I actually use T-pins, those tiny little, here we go. These little T-pins right here. I'll hold it up to the camera. I use these, and I just stick them through the foam into the wall. And then when I'm done, I just pull them out and I move to the next place I'm going to. And you'd never even know that little tiny hole was there. I use one pin for each of these pads sticking up. And I can throw all these pads up in less than an hour, and I've got great room reflection. Now, it's not perfect. I'm not even going to sit here and try to pretend like I'm doing measurements in the room. I'm talking about 80% of the time this works for me, okay? Sometimes I have to change things around, but 80 to 90% this works for me. Don't overthink it. Start with that, and then you can move forward. If you want to hire a professional to come in and treat your room, go for it if you have the money. Let's talk about monitors. These are great monitors. KRK are rated as some of the best. I constantly see these come up in this price range as being some of the best. This is a pair for $298. These are the Rocket 5s that are a little bit small, but you can get a little bit bigger ones. I think the 8-inch woofers, or is it 6-inch? I'm not sure, but they're another couple $100 more. These are great for the money. Yamaha makes fantastic ones. I usually pick Yamaha or KRK. In this case, for this price range, I pick these. What you want to do when you buy speakers is make sure that you're trying to get very flat response speakers so that they're not enhancing or trying to change the sound in any way. Same thing with headphones. Let's jump down to headphones. These are the ones that I love. I love these headphones. In fact, for level number 3, I still use these headphones. These are the Shure SRH 940s. They are a little pricey, but I'm telling you, if you end up buying $100 headphones and then you replace it and then you upgrade and then you upgrade, you might as well just buy the ones you're going to get and pay the right amount of money and not have all that fuss, even if you have to wait a couple months to raise the money for that or whatever. Okay, so flat response is key. Now, the only thing I don't like about these Shure headphones is that they don't isolate noise that well. So if you're in a noisy place or on an airplane, they're not great for that. But usually when I'm mixing in my headphones, like if I'm really doing something very detailed, I'm usually in a hotel room or in my studio, and it's already pretty quiet anyway. Okay. All right. Coming down to here to MIDI controllers. This is the one I love. This is the KeyStation 61. It is made by M Audio. I like this one because it's cheap and it does a great job. The feel of the keys is a little plasticky. They're not great. They're not weighted keys, but these are full-size keys. But it doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. I hate keyboards with a bunch of pads and knobs and dials. I never use. Now, if you use them, great. Buy the one you want. I like this KeyStation because it's very bare bones. It's got a pitch wheel and a mod wheel, 61 keys. I rarely even have to change the octave. This is the one I like, but find the one you like. I am a big fan of not buying keyboards that have sounds in them. I think it's ridiculous. If you're trying to capture the sound of a keyboard, just buy the software emulator. They will do the job 90% of the time. Now, if you're in love with some vintage keyboard, that's a different story, of course, if you love some sound. But we're not dead mouse. We're just trying to put together a really good song. And this is a great option for what I'm recommending, okay? Moving forward, this is the mobile keyboard I would recommend. This is the Korg Mini Key Air. Now, or Micro Key Air, I apologize. The reason I love this, and I talked about it in my first video about level 1, is that it's Bluetooth. It connects in really easily. It's 25 key, but it has a sustain, or not sustain. It has a pitch and mod wheel in the form of a little knob. But I like that because sometimes when I'm doing something that requires modulation, and if I don't have that, it drives me crazy. So I recommend this one, and it's Bluetooth. So if you're on the road in a coffee house, you don't have to have a big wire connected to your laptop, especially if you're not plugged in with your laptop. Jumping down to vocals, the AKG C214. I love this vocal mic. It's fantastic. This is the little brother to the C414. That's what I use right here. This is the mic you kind of want to go after. This is this is kind of a must for most studios. This is a fantastic mic. This is the cheap little brother of it, and it'll do almost everything this can do. So I highly recommend it if you're at this price range. If you're looking for a good condenser mic, it's great. Okay. For instruments, if you're recording an instrument, you're going to need a dynamic microphone. There's a difference between condenser and dynamic, and there's also something called ribbon mics. This one is a dynamic mic. This is the Shure SM57. It's been around for years, I think since the 80s. They run at about 89 bucks. They're super cheap. They use them on everything still to this day, on toms, trumpets, lots of instruments. So highly recommend it. Every studio needs one of those. If you don't want one of those, you can get one of these mics, and I'll try to do this without making too much noise. The one I'm using for my studio, this is the Sennheiser 421. It's probably my favorite dynamic mic, but it is a little bit more expensive. So if you're just running, if you need a quick dynamic microphone, I definitely recommend the SM57. Okay, going down to acoustic treatment, the Chaotica Eyeball. Bar none, get it. It is fantastic. When you're recording in mobile spaces like a hotel room or all kinds of places. In fact, Ari Herstand recommended this the other day. It is, and I've been using it for about a year and a half. Love it. I wish I had known about it for years. Actually, I'm not sure how long it's been out. They are a little expensive. It's a foam ball. You can see mine in the background there. It literally is just a foam ball that you put your microphone in. It comes out here. And then you put this over the top as a windscreen and you sing in it. But I tell you what, I used to have tons of acoustic treatment, these big tubes on sticks and stands. I borrowed them from a really good sound engineer. And honestly, once I got rid of those things, I was so happy. And now I use this. I only use this. I still have to treat the room somewhat. The room has to be fairly dead, not a whole lot of reflection, but I use this in the middle of the room and I've gotten great results. Now, of course, I'm using a good mic as well, but I think the one that I recommend, that's the AKG C414 is going to do just fine with that as well. And it fits too. Some mics don't fit into this. This Sennheiser 421 that I'm using wouldn't fit into that very well at all. All right, let's get out of the hardware and get into the software. I'm going to go fast here. The software synthesizer I would definitely recommend is Omnisphere. I use this on almost every track in some way or another for an effect, a pad, a piano, a bass guitar, just so many things that Omnisphere has. It is pricey, but it is the first, and I have used this now for probably 5 or 6 years, upgraded it a little bit. I have bought a bunch of other synths, and I tell you what, I use Omnisphere still to this day 90% of the time. It's so user-friendly, it is so versatile, and has a huge database of sounds and effects. Highly recommend it. Jumping down to bass for a virtual instrument, for whether it's acoustic bass, picking bass, electric bass, Trillion is fantastic, and it works directly with Omnisphere. You are not going to regret either of those. I'm not going to talk a whole lot more about it. It's just fantastic. Virtual guitar. So virtual instrument, acoustic guitar. I don't record a lot of guitar playing as an acoustic in the room guitar playing. I used to, and I still recommend it if you have the option. But once you start using virtual guitars, especially this one, you will fall in love with it. There is no substitute. I shouldn't say that. The substitute is real guitar playing. There is no better substitute than this virtual instrument guitar. It is so fantastic, and it has tons of strum options, and you can customize everything. I'm going to do a whole class on just how to use these virtual instrument acoustic guitars. I can get a chord progression up and running with a great sounding strum and modulate keys instantaneously and change the recordings based on the singer's voice and save huge amount of times with this. Highly recommend it. Ukulele, it's another one of their products. It's made by Ample Sound. Same thing. I'm not going to say anything more about it. For virtual drums, I love Battery. Battery's a little bit old, but I still love it. I've tried other drum programs, and the versatility and the options that Battery gives is fantastic. It's made by Native Instruments, $199. Great program. I use it probably on 80% of my songs. Vocal tuning, there's no substitute for Melodyne. Melodyne is fantastic. I think auto-tune is better for live performances if you're trying to capture, trying to tune somebody on the fly. But vocal tuning in the studio, highly recommend at least Melodyne Essential. If you can afford it, I'd get the studio version because you can track and time and tune and stack vocals in a big mix. With the Essential, you can only do one track at a time. It's a little bit trickier. There's ways around that, but yeah, I'm going to do a whole class on that as well. All right, guys, last but not least, I want to give you a couple little tips. Learn to work with what you can afford. Do not pirate software. It'll come back to bite you, and you will always have that in the back of your mind that, oh, I pirated that. I hope nobody catches me. Don't do that. If you can't afford something, find another solution, okay? Good gear holds its value. When you buy a good microphone, I guarantee you this microphone in 10 years is going to be worth at least the same amount I bought it for, if not more. It's crazy. This stuff holds its value like you wouldn't believe. A lot of the cheaper stuff does not. Not everything holds its value. I can't guarantee that, but a lot of vintage gear and good gear, an SM57 has been $100 20 years ago, and it's still $100 today. All right. Hard drive space is cheap. Don't think twice about spending money on it. Upgrade your RAM. It's super cheap. Just do it if you can, if your computer lets you to. Always have a running backup. Of course, we talked about that. Your home studio should be mobile. Don't even think about getting a desktop. That's my opinion. Get a widescreen monitor. You can't see it, but I have a really widescreen monitor I bought from Costco. It's fantastic. It's amazing. There are 3 types of mics: dynamic, condenser, and ribbon. Know the difference. Get online, find the difference, understand the difference and what you need them for. Strive for headphones and monitors with a flat EQ response. So important. Never set up your monitors right against a wall. A lot of people don't know. They think that I'm going to make my home recording studio right up against the wall. Don't do it. I'm in the middle of the room. You can't see this, but there is a treadmill on the other side of me over there. There's equipment and storage, and there's all kinds of things in this room, but I'm in the middle, and not quite in the middle either. There's kind of a science behind where you put your speakers in the room. So know that and look into that. I'm going to talk about that in my class. Last but not least, Google and YouTube everything. There is information free everywhere, especially on YouTube. YouTube is an amazing source. And then also, if you want to learn more from me, sign up at thetriplethreatartist.com, thetriplethreatartist.com, and you can get free downloads of this PDF that we're talking about. And you can look into, you could be on the list for signing up for my course when it launches. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. Stay frosty, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, bye.